Hello
Okay.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us at Digipub Week, presented by Advertisements. This is the online chapter of our Digipub World Week convention, India's first event dedicated to online publishers. We've been hosting it annually since 2017. To begin with, I would like to thank our sponsors, presenting partner Adpusha, a market leader in ad revenue optimization, working with over 300 publishers. Our cloud security partner Akamai, technology partner Wintai, and associate partner Chartbeat. Now introducing you to the moderator of the session, Vanita Kohli Khandekar, author and contributing editor, Business Standard. Once again, thank you everyone. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, afaqs, for giving me this opportunity, and a big welcome to all my speakers. Um, we've been hearing so much about what the pandemic has done to media consumption and all these bombastic figures coming at us. And I just recently finished a series on streaming video, and I did a deep dive over 3 weeks into what has happened to streaming video. And I found that the numbers of unique visitors to streaming video was exactly the same it was in December 2019. Only three streaming video sites or OTTs saw a jump in traffic, others did not. There was an increase in the time spent. And so I started looking at newspapers because of our session on e-papers, and I found roughly that in December 2019, and these are Comscore numbers, so if you have any beef with the numbers, please do discuss this with Comscore. But I found that we had 394 million unique visitors to news and information websites, and this number in July was 395 million. So I'm sure there are spikes in individual publications, etc., but the overall number remained the same. Of course, a whole lot of the action also was on broadcast television, on linear television, which saw huge spikes. I think it saw bigger spikes than OTT did in those 2 to 3 months. But really, the fact is that a whole lot of us were cooped up home, spending a lot of time on this, and that's what started the whole e-paper thing. You're talking about, India is a country of bombastic numbers. So 662 million broadband users, 395 million unique visitors to news information sites. But really, what does it mean? And how did e-papers help us capture this better because of the pandemic? And is this something that's going to continue? So I have 4 really good brands here. I have the Indian Express, I have Midday, I have Amar Ujala, and I have
Akamai.
Hindu. No, not Akamai. Akamai is not a newspaper. And Akamai to talk about the security concerns.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, that's fair enough. So let's, I'd first like to ask each one of them when and how, the e-paper came on. Did it come on because of the pandemic, and what has it done to your readership or your viewership online? I'm very curious about how do you do this? How do you do the content? How do you do the selling? Do you blend it and sell it? So each one of you, please feel free to jump in. Sanjay, you want to take it? I'm going with my screen in the order of what I can see on my screen. Sanjay?
Yeah. Thanks, Vanita. So basically, our e-paper strategy was penned out much before the pandemic started. We went live with our paywall on the e-paper in December 2019. And till March 2019, we were continuing with that. And suddenly, we had lockdown all over the country, and the distribution of the print newspaper got disrupted. So our readers were not getting the print newspaper, and this was a time of panic where everybody wanted to know what's happening, and you want to hear it from the brand you trust. So we actually took down our paywall for the next 2 months. Tied up with a lot of banking and other industry partners to distribute our e-paper to people who wanted to have access to news, because we wanted people to have news from a trusted source. And for us, once we had a paywall on our e-paper, and that was part of the long-term strategy, it was also a very good way to get sampling for our product. So, with this tie-ups with ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Nippon Mutual Fund, and others, we were able to reach out to a much larger footprint of people across the country.
Okay.
And, yes, we saw consumption, we saw increased consumption, but not just because of the people that were coming to us or who were Indian Express readers, but also because of active push campaign that we did with partners to get our newspaper to readers who were not typically Indian Express readers. And when we brought back the paywall after 2 months, we saw increased subscriptions, and we've already kind of achieved the targets for the full year, while we still have almost 6 months to go. And for 2 months, we were we didn't even have the paywall in. So in four months flat, we have been able to achieve a year's target on the subscription numbers.
But okay, I'll come back to you. Rachna, you want to take it on midday? You know, one of the things I'd really like to know is, were these the same readers who were reading from your website, or were these new readers, or, you know, there was a good mix of the two? And has the base therefore increased of people who are reading you online or who are consuming you online? It's something I'd like to each. Yeah.
So, you know, like Sanjay said, and you mentioned earlier, for the print industry, it was a huge, unprecedented event that happened in March this year, right?
Correct.
It was a century-old distribution machinery which completely broke down, right? And Mumbai was the worst hit. And for us, for midday, you know, the challenge was to overnight move to a version which is, you know, acceptable, which is easier, which is convenient for people to read. And therefore, overnight, we actually moved to the PDF version of our newspaper because that offered minimum visual disruption, right? So the second priority immediately for us was to reach out to all our readers and, of course, go beyond that, like you mentioned, right? For that, what we did, we tied up with 854 clients of ours through our sales team, because advertising had gone down, the distribution wasn't happening. So we immediately got in touch with these people, and 854 was a whopping number, which actually gave us a database of 10 crore, where we were reaching out, and this free distribution continued for about 4 months. And then on the 18th of July is when we have, you know, we've gone behind a paywall. It's very recent. You know, these are early days for us. It's just been 2 months. What we did was that we didn't just launch or relaunch an e-paper, but what we did was we created a industry first, you know, innovative product. So it's an animated product with a lot of multimedia elements in it. And that is what, you know, is bringing a lot of people to us, apart from, of course, the quality of the call.
You got in touch with 850 for what you said?
Clients who are sales team. Yeah. So like Sanjay mentioned, we had the big banks with us, but we also, because we are a Mumbai newspaper, we also had the smaller clients who have their databases, who reach out.
You reached out to these
directly. Yes, through WhatsApp. So we also got our official WhatsApp channel through which we were distributing, you know, the PDF version. And, you know, all that happened really fast and overnight. And that kind of, you know, the kind of response we got, that is really what spurred, you know, or that gave us the confidence to immediately launch a paid version.
Okay. Pradeep, you know, one of the questions I'd like you to address is this whole thing of how much overlap is there, or is it expanding, or is there a lot of overlap? I mean, I'm not getting this very clearly. So if you had 100 people reading the Hindu earlier, are there now 120 people reading the Hindu because there's an e-paper? Or is there a new set of people coming? I mean, I'm not very clear about.
So see, Vinita, like these numbers are very difficult because unfortunately in India, the print is more controlled by the hawker, and this is digital. So like that number is very, very difficult to give a clear estimation.
Okay.
But in our case, see, we went behind the paywall about 4 or 5 years back. And we never removed during the pandemic also, we did not remove the paywall. What we did was that if anybody wants, like we give from our, rather than normally we give a 1 week of free access on registration. This was increased to about a month. So during the pandemic, the biggest change which we have seen is, see, like 18 to 34 was always contributing 80% of our audiences for e-paper, which is higher than our print paper. So like, you know, so we are a brand which is like anybody who prepares for, say, civil services subscribes to Hindu e-paper. So that is the kind of thing. But in this pandemic, what major shift happened was this age group of 35 to 44. So while 18 to 34 increased by 25% in absolute terms, but it lost share from 80% to 65. And this group from 35 to 44 increased by 300%. So typically what we feel is that a lot of people who were not able to get the access to the Hindu print product ended up coming here and started reading, right? So like see, but the another very interesting data, at least till this point, is that see, we had seen a growth of 150% to 125%. Even now, a growth in terms of absolute number of people who access the e-paper site is about 125. So we have not lost readers. So now we will have to wait for a couple of more months to understand that is it that people who had once the subscription now the print paper is by and large normal. As far as distribution is concerned. So we'll have to wait a couple of months to understand that are we losing users, but at this point in time, we have hardly lost.
But your base has increased, that means. You're saying that?
By that logic, yeah. So see, another very part is we are a very South-dominant newspaper, but our biggest numbers for e-paper, Tamil Nadu is the number 4 for us. So if you will see, so our biggest market is UP, followed by Telangana, followed by Maharashtra, and that's also. So, these numbers is something whether we like, so at this point in time, looks like newer people have added.
Good. It's like, people are looking for a certain kind of reportage and they're getting it from that and now they're getting access to it online. Himanshu, you were mentioning some of the issues Amar Ujala faced. You want to get in there?
Yeah, we doing most of our business from tier 2, tier 3 towns. So those customers are a little different. But talking about the pandemic first, I think it gave us a great opportunity to consolidate our monetization efforts on the e-paper side, particularly paywall. So we were the first Hindi newspapers in the country to go behind the paywall. And that was in July 2019. Though we have been actively working on the product for the last 5 years, and we were analyzing the user preferences, what kind of devices are they using and all, because it was not an easy decision for us to go behind the paywall. We had a huge usage, Amar Ujala being a very loved brand by one and all. So it was a tough decision for us. So I can tell you, like a couple of years back, our page views were as high as something like 50 million on the e-paper alone. Leave the site alone. So amarujala.com is separate, and e-paper alone was contributing good 50 million kind of page views and a great time spent of around 9 minutes and almost 10 pages per session from users. So huge engagement. So it simply tells the power of brand. So e-paper reader is no one else, but he is an actual brand lover who believes in your brand. And you get his undivided attention, and because he has a strong habit of reading newspaper in the morning and all. So for us, before pandemic, we were already behind the paywall, but in pandemic, because some of the physical distribution for us got disturbed. For us, I'll say, because we are mostly tier 2, tier 3, it was not impacted that much. Though it was more of an industry phenomena because distribution being affected in Mumbai and Delhi, particularly with the media planners and all. So they were thinking that all over India, it is happening. No, it was not the case with us. Our only distribution which got affected was like stands, like railway station or bus stands and all. Otherwise, our home readers were very much intact.
It's okay.
And we unnecessarily got hit on our advertising revenue. Yeah.
They think Delhi and Bombay is the world.
Everything is Delhi.
They don't think anything exists beyond Delhi and Bombay.
If they're not getting their paper, so which means like tier 2, tier 3 towns are not.
If their driver is not seeing the show, matlab hit nahi hai.
Yeah. So we were mostly intact. So thanks to pandemic, as I told you, we were able to consolidate our monetization efforts, and the model which worked for us was a freemium model. So we understood as a responsibility also, because there was a lot of clutter happening on television also. So we were talking about some new users and all. So users definitely are getting tired of television these days. So they want to rely on something credible. They want to rely on something which is more well-researched. They want to rely on something on which they can really form their opinion. So yeah, definitely we saw those new users coming in, and we were giving them the ad-free experience and more premium experience, some archives, and multiple editions and some more features. For that, they started paying us also. So we saw almost a 290% growth in our revenues, subscription revenues coming in during those.
Because of the e-paper?
Because of the e-paper. I'm just talking about the e-paper end user revenue. And that was despite making it free. So we were doing a lot of innovations. We were doing a lot of pricing innovations. We were trying to play with the timings. We were trying to play with various kind of usage, various kind of users. It was a work of last 2-3 years because we were pretty analyzing it very closely that what our readers prefer, what kind of mobile phones are they using, what kind of pages on which they spend time, and what are the things and all that stuff. So it took us quite a time. Even when we launched in July 2019 our paywall, so we started just one of our states, which is Himachal Pradesh, and we are really loved in that state. So we did some learning again for good 2-3 months, understanding the habits and all, and gradually we rolled it out to all our states and all. And we being really big on the physical side, almost 2.8 million copies. So it's a huge number. It's a huge number. But
how does the online bit compare with your 2.8 million copies?
Because we are behind the paywall, so we are trying to catch up. We are trying to catch up. Very small, as Pradeep also was talking some time back. But yes, we are seeing some new users also coming in. As I told you, because we particularly noticed those new users, and we felt like that those are the users who were getting tired of the TV. So I'm making this point again. So we saw those kind of new users, and we could analyze and all. So new young set of readers who were coming in and all.
God bless you. So I hope there are more such readers. Okay. Siddharth,
so, yeah, that was it.
Yeah, thanks, Imanshu. I'm going to come back to you. Siddharth, you come from a very interesting perspective, which is the technology perspective, and from ensuring robust payment systems, from an ensuring that no. And I saw a lot of this during the pandemic. I saw a lot of piracy. I mean, my own book was pirated and given to me by someone, a book which released last year. And I was like shocked, where is this book coming from? So I sent it to Penguin and said, do you know that this is happening? But from a security and payment perspective, what is the role that a technology partner can play, if you can bring that in? And if there's any live example of stuff you may have done across the world or in India.
Sure, if I can just take a slight half a step back and let's talk about the user journey and the user experience right now. A user reading a print newspaper typically gets it delivered to their house, or they pick it up at the neighborhood store. And there is really no security control associated with that, right? So when you start doing e-papers and online delivery of news media, you need to make sure that security controls are there, because now you're collecting data of the users. You are asking the user to trust you with their payment information. You're asking them to trust you with their personal information, which you were not doing before. And that can actually open up lots of new avenues for monetization for online media publishers. But that security also cannot be something that is non-transparent. And let me tell you what I mean by transparent. When you're interacting with your bank, you want to see the security. You want to see the one-time passwords. You want your hardware tokens. You want to see it because it's about your financials, your money. Correct. But when you're trying to sign into an e-paper, for example, you want the security to be there, but you don't want to have to enter an OTP every time. So they expect those controls to be delivered as part of the platform that is actually delivering the content. So there's the responsibility on the side of the publishers themselves and the technology and security teams to make sure that those controls, like protecting the web application, protecting the website against content scrapers or bots that do automated attacks to pull data off websites and, or like you were saying, to pull them onto different platforms or to actually do piracy and stuff like that. So those security controls need to be there for sure, but they need to be implemented in a transparent way. And what we are doing at Akamai, working with a lot of global brands in the media and publishing space and even otherwise, is we have a globally distributed content delivery network, or a CDN, on top of which all these websites get delivered. And we have about 300,000 servers across the world. And our security controls are deployed on top of that. And what this does is that it allows a customer, like a brand, to absorb severe spikes in traffic. Like in March this year, we saw that traffic on our platform doubled compared to the same time last year. We hit a traffic of about 167 terabits per second. We were able to absorb that peak in traffic. And all the security controls that we deliver for our customers stayed operational during that time. So I guess my message would be that it's important to deliver security controls in a transparent way, in a way that user experience is not compromised, and in a way that opens up opportunities for brands to understand their customers better and better monetization opportunities.
Okay. One of the things which intrigues me, and this is something I'm going to ask all the publishers on my panel, is I think Pradeep alluded to it at some point. Is the reader coming for the e-paper different from the reader coming for the website? And I mean, is he coming on a different device? Is he from a different demographic? And secondly, also, how do the ad rates, when I say ad rates, I don't mean specific ad rates, but how does the ad return on this reader compare with website? I mean, is it similar? Has it meant better CPMs? And also, do you sell in combo? These are some of the things which I'd like to know.
See, as far as we are concerned, Vinita, first thing is like we have a different audience because as I said, that see, for anybody who prepares for civil services, they tend to like a lot of colleges, people who are preparing, they will always say that start subscribing to Hindu. So in comparison to print paper, our audience for the online is, as I said, that 80% of the user is about less than 34 years of age, while in case of, I think, print, it will be about 72%, right? So so the audience is younger here, and it is in the areas like, say a UP, Bihar, Bihar. So various pockets where even Hindu is not present, so we get a lot of users from those markets as well. Now coming to the advertising, see, we experimented during the COVID to add additional advertising to it, but that's not really a large revenue.
You're behind a paywall.
Yeah, and I think e-paper adding, see, you basically take all the ads which are there in the newspaper on the e-paper. So your opportunity to create new ad slots and all that is there, but then advertiser at this point in time and does not even have the economics of like, there is no body which is saying that what kind of a readers, every publisher, so there's nothing like a IRS or anything. So I think until that ecosystem develops, the advertiser, would he be ready to pay? In our case, some paid because of during the COVID, we introduced additional full pages on e-paper, but they have not really become a very large source of revenue. So by and large, all the print advertiser gets a e-paper free of cost. That's the current situation.
Oh, okay. Rachna, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. So, Vanita, like I mentioned earlier,
one second. Please, guys, feel free to post questions. I can see one or two coming on, but please feel free to post questions. Sorry, Rachna, please. Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, that we introduced a lot of innovations on our digital tabloid, and that was basically very, very exciting to our advertisers too. So apart from all the advertisers who were coming on our papers, and obviously, whatever comes on the paper is also published on the e-paper. But in addition to that, we actually were inundated with front page jackets from, marquee brands like Amul, Britannia, Volkswagen, who were actually latching on to our innovations. So we were offering them GIFs, we were offering them video ads which were playing out on our e-paper. So that's the kind of innovation also which is great to attract, more digital alone, brands who are coming and advertising there on your e-paper.
Okay. Sanjay, you want to say something there? Because are you talking about a different kind of reader coming in?
I think if you look at it broadly, there are three segments of readers who come to the e-paper. So one is people who traditionally like the feel of the newspaper. So these are with your print, and they want the same experience, but probably in a more convenient format because digital is easily accessible, portable. You can carry it on your device. You can zoom and expand. So that's one set of readers who typically would come to an e-paper. Second is, like Pradeep mentioned, there are new set of readers who have a specific requirement. Like Hindu, Indian Express is also a paper which is sought by civil servant aspirants, and that's another segment of people who typically come and subscribe because they have a very short-term need. They are not traditionally Indian Express readers, but a lot of these academies and institutions will recommend, okay, these are the papers you need to read, and they will subscribe to the e-paper. The third segment is people where coming from geographies where your physical paper doesn't reach out, but they actually interact with your brand digitally. So, for instance, in our case, and that's very particular to us, the Indian Express operates only in the north and the west and the east. We don't have a presence in south. We don't have the newspaper going out in south. But we have a legacy which was there in south for a very long time. And people miss the print newspaper. So that's the third segment of readers that we are addressing. Same goes for non-Indian audiences. people who want to kind of read the newspaper when they are probably traveling or they've kind of shifted because of their jobs or whatever reasons.
No, but my point is the reader who's reading the e-paper different from the reader who's reading, an e-paper or a physical paper offers one particular thing which a website does not. It offers order. There's a format to it which you're used to, and a lot of readers like that. And that's one of the biggest reasons newspapers survive. The people like the order it offers. So it was people who were missing the physical paper coming to the e-paper, largely is what I would have surmised. But I just wanted you guys to.
So I think that.
So if I may add, Vanita, over here. So surely, these are two different users. E-paper users and the website users are two entirely different users. As I told you earlier also, and there is a question also on the same lines that somebody is asking me that how did Amar Ujala took that courage to go out and put a paywall. So tier 2, tier 3 people not being so tech savvy.
Yeah, why did you answer it?
So it's simple, Shwini. It's the power of the brand. As Rachna was mentioning, they reached out to around 800 plus advertisers to give away their e-paper at pandemic time. It was other way around for us. I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of brands were approaching us. They wanted to give away our e-paper to their communities, whatever, or to their email ID sets that they had. But unfortunately, we had to decline till the time they were not agreeing to our commercial terms. So we were at any point of time not willing to go ahead and give away our e-paper for free to any brand also. Because ultimately, it was an advantage that was going in favor of their brand, and we really wanted them to pay for it. So we just had a couple of deals, and both those deals were commercial in nature, where we had little commercial thing, because we were pretty confident that we being a mass brand and a really loved brand, so people will pay for us. And they were already paying to us, and we were seeing our premium approach was working, our pricing innovations were working, our discount methodology was working, our time-based discounting things were working and all. So and it was happening for us. So it was quite evident. So the brand is strong. They have the habit. They're not, if they're not getting that physical copy and they're able to find us on internet. So yes, they were coming to us, a lot of new users, as I told you. So we were able to get a lot of new users, and we are trying hard these days to now retain them. So now, for other competition of ours, when, in the bigger cities, when they are trying to come back with their distribution. So we are trying to see that how can we retain our new digital users of e-paper, but these are two entirely different users.
Okay, there's one interesting question here, which I think we sort of touched upon, but we haven't. What are the business metrics that differ while looking at revenue through advertisements in e-paper versus print? Anybody would like to take that?
That's a difficult one. If I may just add, e-paper would never be able to match revenues on the advertising what a physical paper can do, because physical, the credibility, the trust, the time spent, and the habit is entirely different and all that stuff. So yes, user level monetization will for sure keep on happening on the e-paper side, and that will keep on getting consolidated. But matching the advertising revenues would be a tough game.
What I think is that, see, at this point in time, there is no readership survey available for e-paper. So on what basis does the advertiser pay? You need to have a logic to charge thing, right? So at this point in time, in absence of this, there is a trust which you tell an advertiser that, okay, I have X thousand copies, X 100,000 copies going, and if they trust you, they end up paying, right?
Correct.
So till the time the bodies like IRS and all that develop a matrices where the reach of e-papers are measured along with the print paper, till then establishing economics will differ from each publisher to publisher, and the common goals will be difficult.
But is there some work happening in the background to get these metrics going?
So e-paper till pandemic, nobody cared. Publishers were very happy in India. The print was still growing. So most of them, it was not a focus point. It is only that when the pandemic has happened, and now that the publishers are suddenly, your adoption of a digital has moved 2 years ahead. Now I think so going forward, will the bodies like IRS and all that, will the publishers want to do it, is something I think, it will develop over a period of time, but at this point in time, because during the pandemic, no IRS meetings are happening, nothing is happening, so I don't think it would have been considered.
Fair enough. I'm not sure how, but we can ask this: why are we not monetizing the diaspora audience yet? And then after this, I have a question for Siddharth. Yeah. If one of the publishers.
Which audience, Vanita? Which audience?
Diaspora audience. And Indians overseas or outside. Not just Indians, but I think anybody who's reading.
Yeah, diaspora definitely. Diaspora is being charged, and in fact, for us, I can tell you, like we have international pricing for them in dollars and all that stuff. So we have some really good brand lovers, the UPItes, who are spread across all over the world. So they are one of our, they are the loyal brand lovers and all. So yes, we continuously get orders from overseas. Every day we get some good number of orders from overseas. And it's a function of marketing also. So you need to keep on reaching out to them and telling them, yes, we are here. They know the brand. It has been there for long. Yeah. So diaspora, yes. And even these Mumbai and Delhi, because most of the people have relocated to these cities from our states, like Uttar Pradesh being the biggest state of the country, almost like 260 million people population. So you find a lot of UPItes in Mumbai as well as in Delhi. So yeah, diaspora is the one who is coming into us in terms of digital.
Any of the other publishers?
Yeah. Even for us, Vanita. So, once your content is online, it no longer remains local, right? It no longer remains local. So for us also, a large percentage of our traffic is from, across India and globally. Globally, we enjoy, at least on our website, about 30% of our traffic comes from abroad.
Interesting. Siddharth, there's one question here which I'd like you to tackle, and there's another one I had on privacy, and Himanshu was talking about how in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, people keep changing their email IDs and their phone numbers. And in markets like this, and India is hugely heterogeneous. So in markets like this, it's very difficult collection of data, keeping it safe, everything. Also, that's one question. There's also one thing, e-papers are difficult to read. I have to keep scrolling horizontally. Is it just me? Maybe my device's screen is too small, or is there a user experience price publishers need to fix here?
And if I add for Siddharth, so there are a lot of communities on Telegram, which keep on distributing all our e-papers all over the world. So if you can help us there to stop them, we'll be really grateful.
And
yeah, I know. Yeah, I understand. I can go in reverse order. So I think that's a really difficult one to crack, right? The people taking PDFs and sharing it. I mean, you can implement security controls to prevent that from happening. But then for that, you need to have some control over the user's browser, or you need to implement some kind of mechanism on the user's client side, which we don't control, right? You don't want to control that because that comes with other set of issues. So this is like the equivalent of somebody who works in a bank takes out their phone and takes a picture of something on a screen which is sensitive and then leaks the data, right? You really can't, it's very difficult. The human problem is difficult to fix. So I can't claim to have a solution for that part yet. But I would say, just going back to your earlier comment, Himanshu, on the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and that was Vanita's question as well. How do you make it a frictionless experience for them to engage with your brand, right? You could consider offering things like social login, where they maybe they might lose a mobile number, but they might not lose their social media account because there's some equity they have invested there. So are you allowing them to log into your e-paper platform using their social media account, which then can be used across devices and stuff like that? But then that comes with the question of privacy, right?
Correct.
You are actually having to store all this information. So how do you do that in a way that you're taking the user's consent and you're making sure that the data is stored in a centralized secure repository, and you're able to access that data for your marketing purposes or for your BI systems and all of that, right? So you can't just throw it in a DIY system and expect your developers to plug into it and work. So the category of security and identity capabilities that solve this is called customer identity access management, which allows you to create that frictionless experience, allows customers to log in using different methods, allows you to store that data, and allows you to use that with the customer's consent in order to monetize it better. Now, if you go to an advertiser and if you tell them, look, we have the customer's consent to use their data, we understand their preferences progressively over time, we've understood their requirements and preferences better, and therefore, because we understand more about them, a customer data record or their information is more valuable to you now than if it was just anonymous. So there's an entire conversation which is a transition about the way you monetize as well, which you can do if you're handling customer data effectively. And there's going to be a privacy legislation coming up in India soon, so we do need to be cautious about that. Yeah.
Sanjay,
probably
one of the things with the question, one part of the question was also, why is it so difficult to read the e-paper on? Is it my device or is it something else? Is that something one of you guys want to tackle? One of the publishers?
I think it's a very broadsheet being read on a mobile. So of course, it's look at the size of the broadsheet and look at the size of the mobile screen. When you try to put the whole newspaper into one small mobile screen, of course, reading is going to be challenging. But there are ways around it. You tap a story, it opens into a nice clean HTML format.
Yeah.
Web-like experience and solves for that. You can pinch and zoom. But then it's also a function of, how heavy is the file. So you have connectivity issues. So you have to optimize the file. Now, if you are on a low connectivity, then the system will automatically render a low resolution file for you so that it gets delivered. And of course, when you deliver a low resolution file, the quality is going to get compromised. So I think there are multiple things at play here. HTML version of the story is a standard practice for most e-papers today.
Exactly.
And that allows it in most conditions. Probably, I don't know what brand of newspaper this gentleman is using, but that's a solvable problem.
Yeah, it's basically your backend and how well it's able to optimize for the heterogeneity of this market, devices, people, broadband limits.
And if I can just add, Vanita, that's something that is something that Akamai can help with. I don't want to go into it now, but that optimizing the experience, not on the app itself, but optimizing the experience across different types of devices and depending on the connectivity, that's something that we do have experience with, but we can leave the discussion for another time.
It will be interesting to hear that, Siddharth, because social logins also have their own limitations in terms of data sharing and they have the again limitations on the loss side and all. So we have used Google One Touch, we have used Facebook. So, but again, a lot of challenges. People tend to forget even their Facebook passwords also. So that challenge remains. Every day, our customer service team handles something like 200 queries like this that I'm not able to log in.
Yeah.
And the reason is obvious. So we have done a lot of informatory videos for them. Just write it down somewhere. You have to log in like this. You have to. This is
I think we are all in the same boat.
So, you have readers like me, basically. Okay, there's one question here which is interesting, and I'm going to throw it to all of you. Will e-papers attract more readers than actual papers?
I don't think so.
If you look at the trajectory of the market overall, we're talking about 395 million in print readership, Pradeep, Sanjay, if I'm not mistaken, overall IRS numbers.
Yeah. So see, like
400 million honge at the most, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, like one very large thing for this is your websites. See, like a e-paper versus website. Say, like, see, our e-paper would be about 5% of our website traffic, right? So if
that's useful.
Yeah, if you ask me that will digital be way bigger than the newspaper, it is already is. For most of the publisher, the digital unique visitors a month will be way
in audience terms.
In audience terms. So total
Not
readership,
revenues.
yeah. So in a print, there is a concept of total readership, which is a monthly readership, and all the websites also have a monthly unique visitor. So I think for most of the publisher, monthly unique visitors are way larger than what the print total readership is. But having said so, it is not as monetized as print is, and hence print is dramatically profitable. Second part is e-paper may not be the one which would be able to digital, yes, but e-paper, like I think the print paper is so comfortable to read that vis-a-vis people transitioning to e-paper and that having more numbers looks difficult to me, at least at this stage of time. But digital, yes, digital is already way bigger than the print numbers.
But again, quality of both the users are very different, Vanita.
Okay.
So the user coming onto the website and the user coming onto the e-paper, and ComScore is there one currency which is there which tells you the data about your website and your e-paper. So it's not that far also, but yes, the bigger piece is the dark social piece, which I was just mentioning that we don't know how much is getting forwarded on WhatsApp, how much is getting forwarded on Telegram, So that's the dark social part that we really don't know. That wo kahan pe kitna ho raha hai and all that stuff. And every day there is a team sitting in my office. We are trying to figure out kaun si community is there, where we can find out where it is going. We are sending legal notices to them. So it's a day job for us. So there is one person which is dedicated to just find out this dark places which we really don't know how it is originating from, who's doing it and all. But it's important to control that thing.
Correct. There's one interesting question. In the next 12 to 18 months, will we see a standardization or normalization of paywall prices for e-papers? Presently, the cost varies. I think he means the price varies vastly from paper to paper. I am not sure, because this is like, does Hindu want to charge the same as Express and Express wants to charge the same as Midday? So, but I'd still like you guys to take a shot at it if you want.
Yeah, I think that currently the digital products are very cheaply priced. So like, first of all, India, the newspaper itself is very.
I was about to say digital.
Yeah. Top of it, your e-papers are further cheaply priced. So see, like if you look at Sri Lanka, average newspaper is 30 rupees. Pakistan, 25 rupees. In India, perhaps it will be 3-4 rupees, right? So first of all, your e-paper are currently very cheaply priced. And if at all, I think industry should come together to increase the prices, because only then they can become a viable solution. But having said so, like for papers itself, some areas we have seen that, like publishers have come together, but national level, this has not happened. So in next 18 months look difficult, but going forward, anything is possible.
Rachna, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm with Pradeep on this. If we are selling a paper for 4 rupees, then what will I really charge? I am charging 1 rupee. Right?
No, we have lot to take inspiration from South players. We have lot to take inspiration from South players who have the courage to price their products at 15 rupees and 16 rupees.
But
so
Himanshu, this is English and Hindi. English and Hindi have this problem.
I'm
Look at Malayalam.
About regional. I'm talking about papers like Malayalam Manorama, Mathrubhumi. So I've been to their press.
What I'm saying.
The kind of the quality that they serve. Because the price they are able to charge. I've seen their press, the completely automated press and all, beautiful press. Absolutely. Obviously, because if you're charging 15 rupees and I'm charging 5 rupees, so hell lot of a difference. The quality of the paper, the quality of the printing, everything matters. Everything matters.
So that's exactly what the Tamil papers don't do it, but the Malayalam papers are very good at it. So even within the South, you will see a lot of, I don't know what the Bengali papers, Pradeep would know that better. But I thought Anand Bazar Patrika, only the Pujo issue they charge for, nothing else.
Like overall, I think newspaper prices, because of the competitive factors, are difficult. See, like for Hindu, we charge 15 rupees in Delhi, Bombay market. But see, they are not the primary market. Where you are so dependent on advertising. In the market where we are so dependent on advertising, unless the industry comes together, it will be difficult, because see that like we increase the price, other competitor makes it cheaper, you will lose the, like the circulation, because, and that has been proved that this is a market which is very sensitive to price. Correct.
Just to put it simply, then it depends a lot on what happens to the price of the physical paper.
Yeah.
And therefore how that carries forward to the e-paper. Yes. There is these two questions which I'm not understanding. There's one question on social media privacy, social media logins and privacy, which we've already, Siddharth has dealt with. This question on government changes the print advertising transfers to digital edition. Can you guys read this question? I mean, I can't make out what.
So maybe this is related to the DAVP policy of the government. So the government has a DAVP policy for digital websites as well as for the print. So probably those are two different policies. So I think this is trying to talk more about that. But I can tell you one thing, if there is one thing that can bring in a change for e-papers really, that would be the interactivity part. Because that's the power of the internet. If we can bring in somehow that factor into this format, which is a love format, and people have been using it for years and they have habit of this. So I'll give a lot of credit to Midday actually. I think they have done some bit of it, technology innovations and all. But the real thing would be somehow how can we bring in that something many-to-many conversations into it. It can't be one-to-many kind of a thing that we see on the physical world. So if we can bring in that I think that will change the.
So yeah, but I think we still have to maintain, the sanctity of the newspaper. See, we can't turn it into
that's a very fine balance. That's a very fine balance. I would agree with you.
Till the place we have gone.
But I can tell you, yeah. So from our
experience, we have gone. It's interesting and interactive in a certain way. Obviously, it's not one to many, and it's not really interactive in that sense.
It's into a different way. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I have a contra on that. I think e-paper is a legacy product, right? We have the print. We create an e-paper. We started distributing it. Then the pandemic happened, lockdown happened, and we it got into the limelight. It's not designed for digital, right? The digital experience of the digital website is what is designed for digital audiences. Now, there are people who are in the habit, who have the experience of reading the newspaper, and therefore they find value in the newspaper. But what are we delivering? We're delivering a snapshot of news 24 hours once in 24 hours, right? It's limited by space, which is also fulfilling in a way, and that's one of the USPs of the e-paper, if you really ask me. That, once done from page 1 to page 16, you feel that you have got your quota of the news and it's complete. The problem with digital is you never feel that you've done your quota of reading, because it's never ending. You have 200 stories getting updated on a website. But the fact is, as personalization kicks in, as we collect more user data, as we deliver more relevant, personalized content to him, the digital experience that you will deliver will be far, far, far more superior to what the e-paper is supposed to deliver. So I think e-paper has a very limited value proposition for a limited period of time. That could be 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. But beyond that, I think it'll be like flogging a dead horse. So the focus has to move to charging for, and the mode or the packaging is something different. People will need different kinds of packaging. My kids don't read the newspaper, for instance, right? They don't even come to the website. I think the challenge for the media industry is going to be, how do we get these youngsters to come to our brands?
Yes.
They're going to aggregators, they're going to social media, they're consuming the news there. I think that's another challenge we need to address. And e-paper is, I think, a transient step to move to subscription. And that's what the role it will end up playing.
Correct. Sanjay, to that point on, I'll have to wrap this up. So there's some question coming. You look at, I'm sorry, I keep fighting with friends about this, but there's example like a New York Times or WSJ or FT or Economist, who are as old and as big a legacy brand as possible. And they are about reasonably good journalism. Now, I don't agree with everybody's opinion, but they're good journalism and they managed to package it. Look at the Economist. I'm a subscriber. They are doing films, they're doing podcasts, they're doing, you name it and they're doing, and they're more than 100 years old. So I don't think whether you're legacy or not, but I think the point you make about packaging it and present an e-paper being is very good. That's the whole point. How the hell do you pivot this so that you get as many people as possible and yet offer a decent kind of journalism, or the kind of journalism that your brands do offer, and safely and securely, to Siddharth's.
If I can make a quick observation as a relative novice in the digital publishing space compared to all the illustrious panel members, remember that your consumer is actually, you're competing with Netflix for that consumer's eyeball, time. So the screen time that the consumer spends, you're competing with Netflix. So the user experience has to go in a direction where another entertainment platform is, trying to vie for that same time. So in order to do that, we have to sort of change our thinking about how we deliver the user experience and the security portion as well. So
totally.
I think,
Netflix is really
news and entertainment. News and entertainment are.
No, Himanshu, his point is you're competing for time.
Screen time.
You're
competing for screen time.
for time. So Reed Hastings says that I'm competing with sleep. The Netflix CEO has said, I compete with sleep.
Yeah.
So, you're competing with everything.
So that's a very famous quote. Yeah, that's a very famous quote.
Anyway, lovely. I wish we could talk a little more, but this is where we have to end it. Thank you so much, all of you. That was good. And thanks, Sanjay. Thanks, Rachna, Pradeep, Himanshu, and Siddharth. Really good discussion. See you,
everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Anita. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanita,
for
for moderating.
all the great questions. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
everyone. Thanks.